This is the Real Change Wilmington Podcast, episode 52, your premier real estate concierge, with our guest today, Kat Williams.
That was kind of my defining moment where I was like, I'm going to do whatever I want to do, become whatever I want to become, and nothing's going to stop me. And I've always kind of had that mentality, that do what it takes. And this year and probably next year, my motto in life has been do what you fear.
What is going on, everyone? This is your host of the Real Change Wilmington Podcast, Dustin Pierce, joined with my co-host, DR Harris. Real Change is a positive, constructive, and lighthearted source of local news events and resources. On our podcast, we interview leaders of local organizations to help squash rumors and encourage a greater sense of pride in our community. Today, we have a really fun episode with Kat Williams, who is a local real estate agent with EXP. EXP is a all-virtual real estate broker that empowers its agents like Kat to run their own business. So Kat stands out as a real estate agent, not only with her very bright pink branding, but also her white glove concierge services for all of her clients to help buy or sell their homes, including professional photography. She has a team of contractors that help with repairs, and she also lets her clients choose their own pricing. So Kat recently moved to New Vienna from the state of Washington, and she also goes into talking about that transition and how she is investing in the community, doing things to be, as she says, hyper-local. Kat also touches on the new housing development, Creekview, over at the old drive-in movie theater properties that are being built by DR Horton. So this will be a really fun episode. Without further ado, let's jump in. All right, Kat Williams, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited. So we're going to get into your story. We're going to get into your real estate business, and yeah, it's going to be exciting.
I'm looking forward to it.
So before we get into things, let's just learn more about you as a person. Tell us where you're from and what brought you to the Wilmington area.
Well, I've been here for about 2 years. My husband grew up in Wilmington and New Vienna.
Okay.
And so we met when he was stationed in Washington State at Joint Base Lewis McChord. And so once my son graduated from high school, we wanted to get out of Washington State. And the most logical place for us was to come here. His parents are getting a little bit older, and he wanted to be able to be here to help them.
Nice. Kind of a culture shock, I would imagine, from Washington to Wilmington.
It's a huge culture shock, but I grew up in an agrarian community. I mean, I grew up in what used to be the apple capital of the world in central Washington. So it is very desert-like. It's very cold in the wintertime. But most of my life I had spent over in the capital area of Olympia, where it's more wet and cloudy. And
have you spent time in Seattle at all?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I visited there once. It was pretty nice.
It used to be.
Okay.
One of the reasons we wanted to get out was the homeless population was insane.
Oh, really?
You guys think
And you
have
moved to
homeless? No, that's what I'm trying to tell you.
Yeah.
You guys think you have a homeless population? Multiply that times 1,000 at least.
Yeah.
They sleep in the doorways of businesses. They pee in the doorways of downtown. Downtown Seattle, Tacoma, and Olympia, the 3 cities on the coastal side of Washington. They sleep on the sidewalks. They have encampments. Washington actually created safe injection sites where they will give you needles and let you shoot up and then crash out on their cots. And if you OD, they'll give you Narcan. So just really way too liberal for us to be there.
Well, we're in the right place, the opposite of that, I suppose.
Yeah. And so that's been really nice to us. Plus,
Sure.
the kind of property that we wanted to purchase would have cost us over $1 million there.
Yeah.
And so we got it for a fraction of that price here. So.
And what area are you living now?
I'm in New Vienna.
Okay.
So just south of Wilmington. Yeah.
So you said you're married, and then you said you had kids, correct?
I have one son. He will turn 22 in December.
Okay. In the area, or is he?
No, he stayed in Washington with his dad.
Okay.
Well, he's not living with his dad. He's living on his own. But
Sure.
yeah, he stayed with his dad.
So besides real estate, what are some of your hobbies? What do you do for fun?
I love nature photography and hiking. We played a lot of softball in Washington, but I don't do humidity very well. So I'm learning how to golf.
Okay.
And I'll be a fair weather golfer. So in the spring and fall when it's not humid.
That's the best time.
Yeah. So we just went golfing, 12 years of marriage, and we just went golfing together for the first time last week.
And now it's over? The marriage is over?
No. Actually, we had fun.
That's good.
So my husband sucks too, so it works out well. I beat him a couple holes, but overall stroke-wise, he beat me. So
Okay.
Did you golf at the Elks?
yeah, actually, my husband's a member. Yeah, we did.
So last question about you.
Yeah.
What is a defining moment of your life that's helped make you who you are or shape your values and personality?
Oh boy. I've always been outgoing, full of energy. So I don't know that there's necessarily a defining moment. But for me, living my best life really came when my mom died about 17 years ago. It was me and my mom against the world growing up. And so I was young to be losing my parent. I lost my dad at 22. And so losing my mom in my 30s was really hard. But that was kind of my defining moment where I was like, I'm going to do whatever I want to do, become whatever I want to become, and nothing's going to stop me. And I've always kind of had that mentality, the do what it takes. And this year and probably next year, my motto in life has been do what you fear. So
Do what you fear.
yeah.
I like it.
And another thing I've kind of adapted here just recently is God doesn't put something in your mind, that something for you to do that you're not capable of doing. So I thought that was pretty profound.
Yeah. I like that. So before we get into the real estate, kind of walk us through your career leading up to that. How did you get into real estate? What were you before?
I spent the majority of my career, working life, I should say, in the legal field. I spent 30 years in the legal field. So from 18 to 38, I worked in the legal field. I have my master's degree in a legal related field, roundabout way. It's in diplomacy, which is essentially international law and international relations. I started doing real estate 2007, 2008 for something like a side hustle kind of thing, like someone who sells Scentsy or whatever. And then the market crashed and we didn't have all the free advertising opportunities that we have today. And so I tried and failed miserably, but I loved what I was doing in the process. So I pretty much knew when retirement time came, even though I retired technically at 38, that I was going to go into real estate. So what started off as part-time retirement ended up being a full-time second career for me. So I was blessed to be able to say I retired, at 38, which is pretty amazing. So I'm excited. I love real estate.
So you started back in Washington then?
I did. I started back in Washington. I've been in real estate for a total of 8 years, maybe longer now. Maybe it's 10. I don't know. Have to do the math. But yeah, so I started in Washington. I was a top producer in Washington before we relocated. So that was pretty hard. In fact, we relocated 6 months later because I was so busy in the fall 2 years ago that I couldn't walk away from my clients. I had some luxury listings. They were, over $1 million listings. And so I just didn't feel right walking away from those clients. It's not my business model. So I kind of cut back on sales and marketing so that I could have almost everything closed out. And we moved in May of last year. My first weekend back here was Memorial Day weekend last year or 2 years ago.
So speaking of real estate, how did you find a house in the area? Was that a process?
I came every other year to visit. My husband came out every year. It wasn't really too bad. 2 years ago was the tail end of COVID. They were coming down from where they were during COVID. So the demand for properties wasn't as high. We did supposedly have a multiple offer situation on our house, but we were in a position to do whatever it took to get the house. And so it's our forever house. We'll be there for a long time and we want to acquire more land around our house too.
That's a good goal.
Yeah, well, they subdivided our land. We have 10 acres, and they subdivided it from 75. The mom moved into a much smaller house, but the son lives kind of catty corner from us. And so we have told him that when he is ready to sell the rest of it, we want first dibs.
Mm-hmm. So do you have plans to get animals or farm and stuff?
Right now we have 4 dogs, which is one too many. We were good with 3 dogs. 4 is just too many, but we rescued her. She was literally a street dog. And then we have 5 chickens and a jerk for a rooster.
A jerk?
Well, that's being polite. That's not what I call him at home.
To his face.
Yeah.
Very cool.
But he does his job well. He protects those hens like no tomorrow. I've seen him jump up in the air and catch little sparrows and kill them because they're flying over.
That's crazy.
I told you, he's mean.
Wow. So did you have to change brokerage when you moved from Washington to Ohio?
No, that was the cool thing. So when I started real estate, I was with Keller Williams. I switched to a smaller brokerage to get a little bit more one-on-one training, hand-holding, guidance. In Washington, there's a managing broker and a designated broker. So the designated broker more or less owns the office. The managing broker runs the office. So I switched to a small boutique firm. the managing broker stepped down and the whole vibe in the office changed. So I was contemplating going back to Keller Williams, and someone had mentioned EXP Realty to me. I looked into them and found that you can be licensed in all 50 states and only have to pay one small monthly technology fee of $85. If I had gone back to Keller Williams, I would have had to have paid all the fees for Washington, which are exorbitant, and all of the fees for Ohio. I would have two caps, which is when the amount of money we share with the brokerage as a real estate agent goes down. So I would have to do two of those. I would have to do two office fees. I'd have to do two everything. So I looked more into EXP. I liked the culture, which is collaboration versus competition. That's what my small boutique brokerage was about initially. Well, I really loved that concept. And then the fact that I could be licensed in multiple states and only have to pay $85 a month. So that's pretty cool.
What does it mean to have a brokerage? Like, so $85 a month, like, lets you legally be able to be a real estate agent and have like the protection of a broker? Or what does that mean exactly?
So a broker is like the boss. After so many years, you can take a broker's class and become a broker yourself. So I could at this point open a small brokerage if I wanted to. But there's a lot of liability and responsibility that goes along with that and more fees. But so Keller Williams is a brokerage, P.L. Lundy is a brokerage, Coldwell Banker is a brokerage. And so agents come and work under them. You get generally some education out of it. You get some technology out of it. You get some guidance out of it for the fee that you pay. And then they take all the burden of the legal responsibility off of your shoulders, so to speak. So pretty much you have to have a broker or be a broker. And in Washington, it's weird because in Washington, everybody's a broker and then there's designated brokers. But here in Ohio, it's just a broker and a managing and a designated. It's different.
So what are some other things that set like EXP apart besides you get to go in every state and then?
Yeah, so I was dual licensed in Washington and Ohio for a little bit, and I have considered but have decided not to get licensed elsewhere. But we get the $85 a month technology fee. We get a client management database that is almost overwhelming with all of the capabilities that it has. We get about 50 plus hours of training, and every real estate brokerage has a split. So a split is what we get. So if I make a sale and let's say I suck at math. So let's say I get $1,000 commission check, which that's like non-existent. Usually it's more than that. But EXP split is 80-20. So I keep $800 of that and I give them $200 of that. Okay. And so a lot of other brokerages, big name brokerages start at like 70-30. There's even some that start at 60-40. And there's always caps. And so with EXP, that's how much money I pay EXP every year before I get 100% of my commission.
I see.
So at EXP, we have a low cap of $16,000. Some of the other brokerages, the ones that start at like 70-30 or 60-40, it's like, if you start at 70-30, once you've paid them $35,000, then you go up to 35% that you pay them. So it's just uncomparable.
Sure.
There are some other cloud-based brokerages that I think are comparable. In some cases, their caps are lower and their splits are higher. But EXP, for being a worldwide brokerage, is debt-free.
Okay.
All of these other new cloud-based brokerages, you see Real, you see LPT, you see Epic. Oh, I know there's more, but they're not debt-free. They may offer all of these benefits to their agents like free telehealth, free telepet care, free car washes, but they're not debt-free. And they haven't been in the industry as long as we have. EXP was the leader in starting cloud-based brokerages. So we don't have a physical office building. I don't have a physical office. There are large teams of real estate agents that have offices, and that's their choice. So the not having to come into an office is a big thing for me, but that doesn't work for everybody. So I think I mentioned the 50 hours of classes and continuing education that we offer. We have a mentor program for brand new real estate agents. I was lucky enough to be selected by the brokerage to be a mentor. So that's a whole other, job in and of itself. And We have health insurance options. So kind of like a cafeteria plan. If you don't have pre-existing healthcare options and you just want coverage for your family for well exams or broken leg or being sick or whatever. I know a family of 5 that pays $250 a month for that. And so, for me, it wasn't affordable because I have a pre-existing condition. But it is very affordable as long as you don't have issues. Not all real estate brokerages offer health insurance. So that was a huge thing for me initially. We have discounts that are offered for getting your signs, things like that, all kinds of other business related matters. You get a discount, because you're with EXP. EXP was founded in 2007. So I think we're pretty solid at this point on top of being debt free. And we are a leader in terms of transactions and volume and things like that.
It sounds really cool. We talked before, and it just sounds like the company really empowers its agents to kind of be their own business. So let's kind of transition into like your business. So like, how is your business different? How have you set it up?
So that's one of the things that made me choose EXP was that I have the power to personally brand myself. So not saying good or bad things, but if you see Keller Williams signs, they're generally black and white or black and red or red and white. If you see Coldwell Banker signs, they're blue and white. At EXP, we can personally brand ourselves. The only requirement is we have to have their logo on our signs. So my signs are hot pink. And so that's my brand color. It's one of my brand colors. And so that's super cool. And I can do whatever I want as far as marketing me. And if I want to go all out and be super crazy, that's on me. I'm running a business. We are business owners. We are all, not all, but most real estate agents, I'd say 90% or more are independent contractors. But when you're required to use their branding and their colors and their signs, and you can't give yourself your own tagline, things like that, it really kind of, I think, holds you back in terms of being able to offer a higher level of service even. So like my tagline is, I'm your premier real estate concierge, because I go above and beyond what the next person is going to give you.
I think you mentioned that you offer like a white glove treatment.
I do.
So like, what else like sets you apart?
So I do offer the white glove treatment regardless of your price point. So if you're only approved for $150,000, you're going to get the same service as someone that's approved for $1.2 million. It may be on different levels. For example, one thing I think that truly sets me apart is how I do open houses. And of course, an open house for a luxury listing is going to be a lot more than an open house for more median price point listing. But still, even the median price point, you don't get cookies, store-bought cookies and warm water at my open houses. You have, like I said, it's an event. There's going to be some sort of family event in the corner going on, whether that's a backdrop for photos that we're going to take. Like in the spring, I did a spring backdrop for Easter, and they could take their own photos, or I could take it for them of their family, their kids. I also usually do like sandwiches and soda and chips, or a full breakfast, kind of continental breakfast kind of thing where you'll have coffee and bagels or donuts and fruit. So it really is more of an event in and of itself. I'll do a live walkthrough video prior to the open house. I do a lot of marketing for the open house. I literally create an event on Facebook for your open house.
Nice.
Yeah.
So do you call it the white glove treatment, or do you call it the pink glove treatment?
That's good. I should do that. No, I call it.
Stay on brand. Okay?
Yeah, right? I just call it the concierge level service.
Okay.
So, I mean, people will say, well, what's a concierge? If you think about a high-end hotel, they always have a real estate concierge. You want tickets to a show. You want a recommendation for a great place to eat. The concierge is going to hook you up. Concierge is going to call and make the reservations. They're going to ask you if you want a car, arrange for the car to come pick you up to take you to that show or to that dinner. And so that's what I do. I arrange everything and solve all of your problems for you during your transaction so that you don't have to worry about it, and it makes it as stress-free as possible.
I think something else you mentioned is like you can in some situations take care of like managing repairs or like scheduling repairs on people's houses.
Yes.
It seems like way above and beyond.
Yeah. So some of the things that I offer as part of the concierge service, I have a team of experts that I work with. They're, what vendors, I call them experts. So I have a team of plumbers, electricians, handymen, HVAC people, roofing people, contractors, whatever you need, I have a connection. And I can take care of coordinating coordinating. So coordinating the time, and I can meet them there and let them in. So you don't have to be there. You don't just go about your regular daily business, and I can go ahead and meet them there and let them in. And, if I need to stay while they're doing the work, I have a mobile office, so I can just go and work while they're working. Same thing with lenders and home inspectors, things like that. I have a team that I work with, and this team is proven. I have a client right now who chose to go with a lender of her choice, and the level of service that I see between that person and the lenders that I like to work with is just, the difference is insane. My lenders are just awesome. So ultimately, of course, it's your decision. I'll give you like 3 names and then you can pick, or you can say whichever one you think is best, Kat.
So for going back to the example of hiring an electrician or a plumber, when would that come about? Is that if the buyer is talking to your seller and saying hey, we want to buy this house, but we need this fixed first?
Right.
That's when you would do that? Or even before the house is listed, or both?
Both. It can be both.
Okay.
So on the listing side, if I suspect that a home might need a lot of little repairs, I might recommend, and in some cases might even pay for, a pre-listing home inspection. And so then the seller knows everything. But there's a problem with that too. The sellers have to fill out a disclosure form. And so let's say the inspector says you need a new roof, but the sellers aren't willing to fix the roof. They now have to disclose before they sell that it needs a new roof. So, there's some things that are good and some things that are bad with that. But typically, I don't ever recommend that anybody buy a house without a home inspection, even if it's brand new construction. So that DR Horton community we were talking about, I still would recommend you have your own inspector come out and inspect the property. They will pick out everything from a broken outlet to a leaky faucet, to the fact that you should have your roof inspected by a licensed roofer to make sure that it's good because the inspector sees some concerns. So the inspector gives back their report, and then we look at the report together. If you were my buyer, we'll look at the report together and we'll say, okay, the hot water heater is 20 years old and the average life expectancy for a hot water heater is 14. Let's go ahead and ask for a couple $1,000 or $1,000, because if you do it yourself, it's insanely cheap, so that you can get a new hot water heater. That's called a concession. Or we ask that they replace the hot water heater because the inspector recommended it be replaced. Or something isn't working properly on the furnace or the AC. Then we would ask the seller to make those repairs as part of our purchase. So that's all at the seller's expense. Then the other time is every home that has a mortgage has to have an appraisal. That protects the bank, so that the bank knows that they are giving you money to buy something that is a worthwhile investment. Sometimes health and safety issues or major structural issues will come up as a condition of an appraisal. That means in order for the appraiser to say it's worth $200,000, X, Y, and Z need to be repaired. Once X, Y, and Z are repaired, the appraiser comes back out, says, okay, we're good to go. Let's move forward. So when the appraiser calls out conditions, the seller doesn't have a choice but to repair them. Their only other option is to walk away from the transaction. So I hope that helps answer your question in a roundabout way.
Yeah. One of the things that you offer, I think, on all your levels of service is the professional photography. Is that right? Or
Yes. In fact, it's kind of a pet peeve of mine when I see photos that real estate agents have clearly taken. There's actually a listing in New Vienna right now, and the photos are just awful. I don't know if the listing agent took the photos or if the homeowner took the photos, but there's a photo of the area where they feed their dogs.
Do you think that they do that nowadays because the market is there's not many houses for sale, so they don't feel like they need to do that?
Absolutely. Okay. Absolutely. But professional photography is free regardless of the level of service you pick from me. And so we had talked about before was I offer a 3-tiered structured commission system, and I have offered that for the past 8 years. It's nothing new that I've started. And so there's 3 different levels, 3 different service packages that I offer. One is a little basic. It's a little more than I just stick the sign in your yard and walk away. You still get an open house. You still get the professional photography. You still get all of the social media marketing that I would do on a normal listing. Then the second one would be a little bit more. Maybe it is, I'll pay for your house to be cleaned, or I'll help you pay for professional staging if that's necessary. So each of the 3 tiers for fee structures offers more than the previous one. And so you, as the seller, get to pick how much you're going to pay me to sell your home. I'm not going to come to you and say, well, hey, I charge you X% to sell your home. You get to pick based on the level of service you want from me. And so I think that's something that is very unique that I offer.
Does that work also when you're representing a buyer? Or not so much?
Not so much, because buyer needs a certain level of service. And as we talked about before, the NAR, National Association of Realtors, had a lawsuit filed against them, basically for Sherman antitrust law violations, kind of along the lines of price fixing. So you would see a handful of brokerages that would say, we're not going to sell your house for less than 7%. Can't do that. Can't set a minimum standard that is beyond the norm. Just like if there was a cell phone service that was charging twice as much as everybody else, they're going to come in with an antitrust violation on that, potentially, if someone makes a complaint. So there was a very large lawsuit. And what came down from that is a lot of people think that sellers pay the buyer's agent. And it's never been that way. It has always been something to be negotiated. And if that is not properly explained to your seller, then of course that can cause a problem. And so let's say prior to the lawsuit, I charged you 6% to sell your house. I would spend 50% of that to reimburse the buyer's agent, but you're paying me and my brokerage that 6%. You're not paying me and the buyer's agent's brokerage. You're paying me. So it was my choice. And so that used to be advertised in the MLS listing. You would see a co-op percentage or shared commission, is whatever your MLS is, might call it a different term. Around here, it's co-op. And the lawsuit now prevents all MLSs from listing the co-op fee anywhere in your listing. So what that means for us is we have to call as a buyer's agent and say, hey, is your seller doing a co-op fee? No. Okay, thanks. Or the word they're wanting us to use now is concessions. Is your seller paying buyer concessions? And so if they say, yes, we're paying 3%, or yes, we're paying $3,000, then that means that they're paying $3,000 towards the buyer's agent fee. Unfortunately, you have to sign a buyer's agency agreement now to see houses. In the past, it was an option. You didn't have to sign one ever. It's been a practice of mine for 8 years that I always had my buyers sign a buyer's agency agreement. It protects you as my buyer and me as your agent. And part of those protections for me are that I'm going to get paid. I used to put in that it's based on the MLS listing and what the seller is willing to pay, but I can't do that anymore. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to say, I will help you find a house, but I'm going to charge you X% to find that house. And then I just say it's negotiable within reason. If there's like a $500 or $1,000 difference, I'm not going to come back to you and say, you owe me that $1,000, you know? And so it's just something that is to be negotiated as part of the sales contract now, whereas before it wasn't, it was a given.
When did this lawsuit happen? When did these new things take place?
The lawsuit's been going on for a while, but so August 17th was the official start date. But Governor DeWine signed it into law on July 25th. So even if like they appeal the NAR lawsuit and it gets absolved, we still have to do it. And so you have to sign that showing agreement to look at one single house.
I remember looking at listings online on like realtor.com or something, and in the description, if you dug down, it would say like seller is paying, 3% to buyer agent. Like that used to be in the listings, and you're saying that's not going to be there anymore?
No.
Okay.
Nope. Legally, it cannot be there. So when I wrote an offer just a couple weeks ago, and they were offering a co-op fee or concessions. And so I wrote into the offer, seller to pay X percentage towards buyer's agent's commission. And that's what we have to do. It's a part of our negotiation. So what I see a lot on social media is people are just saying, oh, put it in your offer. So they're not saying whether they're offering anything or they're not offering anything. So that's a disadvantage to my buyer, because if they, buyers generally come to us. They don't generally have a lot of money, especially if they're first-time home buyers. They don't have an extra 3% of the sales price to pay their buyer's agent. So it's really important that real estate agents not be so proprietary or secretive about things, and to share and work together. So part of the reason that the whole lawsuit came about is, let's say someone was listing their house for sale at 3%, and then a similar house was at 2%. Real estate agents would not even send their client the one that was for 2%, and they would only send them the one that's for 3%. And so that's where redlining comes in. We're steering you away from this particular house. We're going to this one because I'm going to make more money off this one. And so that's another reason why it's not being advertised. But if I text you as a listing agent and you say, put it in the offer, or my client won't let me, your house might move to the bottom of the list just because there's other people out there. My client's happier. I mean, I would leave it up to my client. Hey, there's a potential with this house that you're going to have to pay my service fee. And, it's up to the client. But if they don't have the money, they're not going to go look at that house because they can't afford that house now.
Right.
So it makes it a little unfair. But
one thing,
and one word of advice to any real estate agents that are listening to this, you can share any and all information about your client's reason for selling, the commission structure or fee structure, if you get your client's permission. So all you have to do is get your client's permission. It's a part of my regular listing packet. And then you don't have to say, put it in the offer, or I can't share that with you. And it's really disadvantageous to a seller as a listing agent. If I call you and say, hey, where do I need to be highest and best in a multiple offer situation? And you tell me I can't share that information with you. How does that benefit your client? If I need to come in at $50,000 over asking, and that's what my client can pay that, you're potentially losing your client out on a lot of money if you only get 30 instead of 50 or 30 instead of 35.
When you tell your buyers or when the seller potentially tell the buyers to put it in the offer, you mean like put the question of how much are you?
No, put what you need. So when you sign that buyer's agency agreement, you tell your buyer, this is what I'm going to charge you to help you find a house. And so let's just say that that's 3%. That in your contract as my buyer, it's 3%. Then I need to write into the offer, if the sales price is $300,000, I'm going to say seller to pay buyer concessions of $9,000 towards buyer's agent's fee.
Okay.
So it just has to all go in and be a part of the offer now.
Gotcha. So before, you mentioned when you were starting out in real estate that there was not a lot of free options for marketing, but I guess nowadays there is with like social media and YouTube and things like that. So how are you utilizing those platforms to market?
Oh, I love social media. So I regularly advertise the listings on my personal and my business page. I also host a Facebook page called, and I may get these out of order, but it's Clinton, Fayette, Greene, Highland County Real Estate. And so it'll go in there as well. So anybody that puts in the search engine, Fayette County Real Estate, they're going to find my page. They're going to find your listing in there. I will do a walkthrough video tour that will not only go in as part of the listing, but it will go on my YouTube channel. I guess depending upon the service package that you pick, I will do that for you. And then I will take little clips and things from it, put it in my stories, put it in advertising. Depending on your service package, you get paid advertising on social media. I am on all the social media platforms. So LinkedIn, Nextdoor, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Am I missing any?
TikTok.
I don't do TikTok.
Okay.
So
neither do I, but
yeah. No, so I don't.
I'm not sure if anyone who is trying to buy a house has TikTok.
Actually, I know a guy in Chicago who has made a fortune using TikTok as his marketing platform.
Chicago. This is,
and he's my age. He's in his 50s. So
okay,
I was just kind of surprised.
I've seen lots of social media. I don't have TikTok, but I have Instagram, and Reels are basically the same thing.
Yeah.
But there's lots of real estate agents that will do tours as fast as humanly possible. Like it's supposed
In
to
90
be,
seconds.
yes, it's supposed to be funny. So they'll sprint through the house and explain it as they're running up and down the stairs and everything.
Yeah. I've done short ones, but I do long ones. I'll do short ones if I'm walking through someone else's listing. But if it's my listing, you get the long one and the short one. So, and the thing is too, you have to keep someone's attention. So if it's an everyday home with nothing that's going to make you go, ooh, ah. But, if somebody has, like I have a client that I referred to another agent in North Carolina. She was actually a former Washington client relocating to North Carolina. So I referred her to a North Carolina agent. And she had posted a picture the other day of her backyard after they mowed it for the first time. And someone said, is this a resort that you're staying at? So if you have something like that, a backyard that's going to pop that looks like a resort or a beautiful river or creek or an amazing pool or an amazing outdoor kitchen, I'm going to profile your property with that. That's going to catch your attention as the scroller. And then you're going to see the rest of the house.
It's like having a good tagline in an article.
Yes, your hook.
Your hook, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Can we shift gears a little bit and talk about the DR Horton homes?
Sure.
Because you are a marketing partner. Okay, I'm like that, right?
Yeah.
Marketing partner. You were talking to us last time. I guess that project originally started. So it's at the old drive-in property in Wilmington.
Off of Lincoln.
Yeah, just the very north of Lincoln. And you mentioned that was originally bought by a company that was going to make it affordable housing.
Yes.
And then what happened to that company?
As far as I understand, they ran out of money, whether that was they lost business partners that were helping them finance or they personally ran out of money. I don't know, but they ran out of money. And then the property was put up for sale and DR Horton bought it.
Okay. I remember going to a lot of city council meetings where they were trying to get things passed to get that property going. So it's been a long time coming. Has there been some backlash to the affordability-ness of the houses?
Yeah, so initially they were going to start out at the 320 range. And I reached out to my contact at DR Horton and I said, that's not going to fly here. And I pointed out Taylor Ridge or the other subdivision that's doing new construction. We talked about
Timber Glen. That's where you live, right?
Timber Glen.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Pointed out that what the starting price was for the Timber Glen homes. And so they, I guess, did their research because when they put it up, the lowest price was $289 versus $320. And of course, now they have one of the floor plans on sale. And it's $259. I think it's the Cabral floor plan. Mm-hmm. It's $259, and you can be in a brand new house by the end of October, just in time for the holidays.
You kind of compared it to the mean price in other houses when they're selling right now. So what's around the mean price of Wilmington?
The median price for a home that's available for sale in Wilmington right now, or not Wilmington, Clinton County. I don't have the ability, I can to do the math, but I suck at math. So for Clinton County, it is $248.
Okay.
Yeah. And that was at the first of the month.
And those are not brand new homes.
And those are not brand new homes. In fact, I am under contract on a listing in Southridge, so very much an older community. The kitchen is somewhat updated, but the property definitely needs some work. It needs some new flooring, things like that. And it's $200. So,
I've seen houses selling for a lot.
Way more than that. In fact, I get notified every time there's a new listing in Wilmington, and everything is pretty much coming up between $200 and $250 right now.
Yeah.
That is not an older home.
Sure.
But I can find the occasional listing for $150. It's just not easy to come by, and you have to be very patient, and I can guarantee you it's going to need work.
Yeah.
Right.
Or it's a shack.
Well, when I'm personally talking about properties, I make them livable. But if you're my client and your price point is $150, I will look and find. But if you're doing an FHA type loan, which is not a first time home buyer's loan, as many people think, it's a federal housing authority, I think, type loan. You can't move into a house that needs a lot of work. It has to have everything health and safety updated.
You were mentioning at the DR Horton property, it's called Creekview, right?
Yes.
And there's supposedly going to be 100 houses being built there?
100? So there are 50 in phase 1.
50, okay.
I am not sure how many are on the map for phase 2.
Okay.
But yes, eventually there will be a phase 2 closer to the freeway, or the bypass, excuse me.
And there's been, last time we talked, there was 9 homes already sold?
Yes, 9 homes as of yesterday have already been sold.
That seems like there's definitely interest in the projects.
There is. And when I asked my contact at that community what the demographic was, he said it's mostly first-time home buyers.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, for the price,
Yeah.
So
we met someone who moved from Minneapolis to here, who bought a house, and just like, that's crazy. I would not have thought that was the demographic of people moving to Wilmington, but.
Well, and then we talked before about the Jamestown project between LG and Honda, the battery plant that's going in out there, and there's no housing in Fayette County. So where are they going to come? They're going to come to Wilmington because you go towards Columbus and it's going to be even more expensive.
Right. Yeah, there's definitely opportunity for all the jobs coming in. One other thing that was attractive about DR Horton seems to be their 4.5% interest rate with their company. Okay.
With if you work with their lender, which is DHI Financial, you can get a 4.5% interest rate. So that's almost 2 full points below what the average interest rate is today. And so that saves you a ton of money in the long run. So even if you're pre-approved, you're pre-approved typically at a 6.5% interest rate right now, depending upon your debt to income ratio and your credit score. If you are approved for $200,000 at 7% or even 6.5%, think about how much more buying power you're going to have at 4.5% for the same sales price as $200,000. So you can maybe go to $225,000 or $250,000 because you've gone down 2 points in interest rates. Now, you're not going to find, other than that $259,000 home that's not for sale, and I think it's 1,400 square feet, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths. Most of these have good-sized backyards, which I was really, for a subdivision, I was pleasantly surprised. But you're not going to find a DR Horton home for under $250,000 generally. So they have a subdivision up in Xenia, and I think those start at $320,000.
Okay.
And so they've got several throughout the area, Columbus, Cincinnati, Dayton, and they're all fairly, new construction is new construction.
Right. And you mentioned also that they are all equipped with smart technology.
I don't know about all of them, but the Creekview property, you get free smart technology. And I know in the article that you wrote, you posted up about my YouTube walkthrough video. And at the very end, it has Corey Strong, who is my contact at the Wilmington community. And he explains the smart package. And you can control everything from your phone. You can lock all of your doors at once. You can dim the lights. You can tell it to close your garage door. If you're in bed and you realize you left the garage door open, you go to your phone, you push a button, it closes your garage door. If you're not sure if you locked the front and the back door, lock my doors. So it's pretty cool. He gave me an example if you want to do a movie night. And so you can pull out your phone, and it's even connected to Alexa. You can connect it to Alexa if you have Alexa. And you can say, hey, Alexa, presetting 1, which you've set for movie night, dim the lights, lock the doors, make sure the garage door is closed, and you're ready to go. So you could even set it to preheat your house in the morning.
Yeah. I used to be very against smart technology. And also, I would never buy from Amazon. But once you start the convenience, you're like, I don't care who has my information. This is so convenient.
I was the same way with buying groceries or ordering groceries, right? And I think the first time I ordered groceries was the second time I had COVID, or my husband had COVID. And I was like, I just went to the grocery store and now you've got COVID. So, okay, send me a chicken, give me some orange juice. And I actually had them delivered because I had just been, and I didn't know if I had germs on me or anything else. But as the cost of groceries increased, I decided to start ordering my groceries because it cuts down on those impulse buys. You order what you need and that's it. Or in my case, you see the pink shirt when you're walking through Walmart and it's like a beeline to the pink shirt. Oh, it's only $12. I'll get it. And so my grocery bill, I actually save $50 a week on my grocery bill by ordering my groceries.
There you go.
And I do go pick them up. I'm not that lazy to have them delivered. So.
Anymore. Okay.
Anymore. No, it's just that one time we had them delivered.
But
some places offer free delivery, do they not?
Yeah. Walmart has started free delivery. I still wouldn't. I use that as an excuse to get myself out of the house to go pay bills and run errands.
Sure.
So usually Tuesday I go get the groceries, I go run errands, whatever else I have to do.
Yeah. But smart technology for your house is awesome.
Yeah, definitely.
That's the point.
That's the point.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid of technology.
No. So I think we talked about the DR Horton project. Next thing I want to ask is just about the challenges that you faced becoming a real estate agent and how you've overcome some of these. So I think one of the more specific questions is, you obviously just moved to the area recently. How have you established yourself in the local community?
It was really tough when I first got here. I went from being a top producer to nothing. Screeching halt. My family is very large, so that's what I would call my sphere of influence, but none of them will ever be moving. I live in a rural area. None of the people around me are going to move. Farmers don't move. They pass their homes down to generations. And then not being known in the community, although I had been coming here for, 10 years, I knew the community very well. My husband grew up here, but I didn't have the contacts to build my business. So I made a point of becoming hyper local. I host events in my community that give back to my community. I don't necessarily market New Vienna because there's a lot of rental properties in New Vienna, but I still do things to give back. It gets my name out there. I just finished a school supply giveaway. I do a chili cook-off. I did a baking and barbecue sauce competition. I coordinated our Spring Fest event. And then now coming out more into, I also market being a military wife. I also market the Wright Pat area, because not only was I a military wife, but I've done the relocation process. I know what it takes to get it done, and I know what barriers you're going to face. And then coming back to Wilmington, I have connected with Charlie Hargrave. He does Wake Up Wilmington. And so I'm doing his show once a month right now, talking about real estate in the community. I connected with you guys doing the article, doing some local advertising. I have never done a paid advertisement on print media in my life. So you guys are a first for that.
And we appreciate that.
Yeah. And we have a plan set out to get us through December, and then we'll see where we're at with all of that.
Yes.
And just getting out there in the community and being known and being seen, going to events. I wear crazy things that say, ask me about real estate. I have a ball cap I wear golfing that says, this girl sells houses, It's just silly things like that. And then my brand color, you're not going to see another pink for sale sign in Wilmington.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I serve a large area, so I don't just serve Wilmington. I serve all of Southwest Ohio because of where I live. So I am an hour from Cincinnati, Dayton, and Columbus. So I cover everything in between those three areas and the river. It just doesn't make sense business-wise to say I'm willing to drive an hour to Cincinnati, but I'm not willing to drive to Dayton or Columbus or Chillicothe or,
You're centrally located, so it's good.
Yeah, it's perfect. It is. And I think that's helpful because you get people from Wilmington that maybe want to move closer to the city, so I can serve both sides of the transaction. People in the city, I get a lot of referrals from real estate agents in the city because they don't want to drive much more than 15 to 20 minutes outside of their home area. And so they'll sell the house in Cincinnati area, and then I help them buy the house in the area that's more rural. And with the ability to telecommute, a lot of people are doing that. Yeah. So, definitely you're going to remember a hot pink for sale sign.
Yeah.
Although once you look at it, you may not want to look at it again.
Wow.
No, my brand color isn't too bad. I do have one shirt that is even a little bright for me. I was all excited when I found it. It's a shell for a jacket, for a suit. And you totally get that, but she does.
Yeah.
And I was just all excited about getting it. And
it's too much.
It really is. I can't wear it. It has to be two solid colors, like the hot pink tank top shell and black pants or white pants.
Right.
I can't mix anything else with it because that thing is so bright.
It's good for Easter.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what is one of the most proud accomplishments so far in your career as a realtor? Is there a story that stands out that you've been able to help somebody?
Yeah. Although it's not a niche of mine, I love helping first-time home buyers because I have so many people call me that say, I can't afford a house. If you're paying more than $1,000 a month in rent, I can help you find a house. Probably for $1,200 a month. So, it is more expensive to own a home, but Ohio has down payment assistance programs that are a part of the FHA loan program, and it will give you up to 5% of your purchase price. And I say give because it is give. You don't have to pay it back. So you can take 3.5% of that 5% and use it as a down payment, and the remainder can go towards your closing costs. And so that's less money out of pocket for you to buy the house. And so, people will say they don't have money in savings or Their credit score isn't high enough. My response will be, well, what's your credit score? Oh, it's 582. I can get you in a house at 580. We might have to reduce some debt to income ratio, but I can get you in a house if your credit score is 580 or higher. Of course, higher, better interest rate, lower debt to income ratio, better interest rate. But I like working, I guess maybe it is a niche. I like working with those challenging people because I really feel like I made their homeownership dreams come true. I just closed, about a month ago. I'm actually taking her housewarming gift out tomorrow. But about a month ago, I closed on a property in Chillicothe, and they were connected through a referral source that I use called the Teacher Next Door program. Now, I don't use them anymore, so if you want to work with me, don't go look that up. But they really didn't think they would qualify. We don't have much money in savings. Our credit scores suck, blah, blah, blah. Can I say suck? Our credit scores stink, blah, blah, blah. And it turns out that the husband, they were recently married, so everything was still kind of separate, but the husband had like $9,000 in savings. His credit score was borderline, but he had a small credit card. He was putting his gas on and paying it off every month, so that built up his credit score. Their debt to income ratio wasn't very high, and we got him into a house. And ironically, he drives a cement truck. It was a house that he poured the cement for the driveway, and he says, I want to keep an eye out on this house for when it comes up for sale. I love this house. And every time he saw that the house was for sale, it was pending. And so then it went back on the market because last minute buyers financing fell through, and they got it.
That's pretty awesome.
And so they used down payment assistance, and guess what? He got money back at closing.
Nice.
Yeah, he got money back in his pocket, $70, but it's money back in your pocket. So he did not have to bring anything to the closing table because of that down payment assistance. Now, the only thing that buyers really do have to come up with is probably around $1,000 for earnest money. And that goes with your contract. Mm-hmm. And it goes towards your closing costs or your down payment or whatever you need it to do.
So people still do the earnest money thing?
Yep.
Okay.
And of course, my ideas for earnest money are way out there. So, because it's just different. On Washington, you're going to put $3,000 earnest money down on a house. And here the average is like $500 to $1,000. So.
Yeah.
My answer to that question is, they say, how much should I put down? It depends on how serious you are about the house. It really doesn't depend on the price. It depends on how serious you are, because that tells the seller you really want the house.
One question that we always ask, and this is kind of cookie cutter and may not apply to you super much, but what are any like stigmas or rumors that you've heard about in the community that you want to address, or maybe just stigmas and rumors about the housing industry in general, real estate in general?
You just opened a whole new can of worms.
Let's do it.
So, for the last 2 years, there have been, since inflation jumped and interest rates skyrocketed, there has been this presumption that the real estate market's going to crash. I get that a lot in my marketing. Oh, I'm waiting till interest rates come down. Oh, I'm waiting till the market crashes. I'm waiting till home prices come down. It's not going to happen. Interest rates are coming down, but I can tell you in our lifetimes, even though you guys are like half my age pretty much, we are never again going to see 2.5% interest rates. We're getting closer to 5%. Oh, unless there's some national thing like COVID or a war or something like that, we're not going to see them. The point of dropping those interest rates was to stimulate the economy. So we're getting closer to 5%. I think in election years, everything's really pretty volatile. It goes up and down and up and down. You've seen it in gas prices. We've had as much as $3.85 and as low as $3.12. So, and it's all just been up and down all year. It's just the nature of the beast. But I think the lowest we'll see will maybe be 5 to 4.5. I don't think we're going to see anything much lower than that for interest rates. So the 2.5% interest rates, don't even think you're going to wait for that. As far as the housing market crashing or prices coming down, we need more people to sell their homes before that's going to happen. The average days on market in Clinton County is 6 days. So if I list your house today, in 6 days, we'll be under contract. So that's not even one weekend. It's a little bit more in more rural areas. Like I think Highland County is like 24 days. but it's still not very long. 6 months on the market is what we call a balanced market, because there are so many homes available on the market. There are buyers out there looking, it balances out. So it's really simple economics where right now demand exceeds supply. In almost all of Southwest Ohio, but particularly the more urban, and I call Wilmington urban in this situation, we're seeing multiple offers still. So now during COVID, I saw as much as 20 offers on one property. Now it's only like 3 to 5, but they're still out there. In some cases, homes are selling for over asking still. So until we have an equal amount of homes for sale, or actually more homes for sale than we have buyer demand, so homes for sale being the supply, buyers being the demand, home prices are not going to come down. In the last 3 to 5 years in Ohio, home prices have gone up more than 50%. And in some places in the country, they've gone up over 100%. So that means if you paid $250 in some parts of the country, you paid $250 for your house 5 years ago, that house is now worth $500,000. I know our personal property in New Vienna, very rural, in 2 years, we've gained $100,000 in equity, which is about a third. So 33% in 2 years.
So is the moral of the story, don't wait to buy or sell? Like
the moral of the story,
moral
of the story is don't wait to buy, because you wait and you're going to spend more money. Interest rates may come down, but home prices are going up.
Sure.
So you're really losing money in the long run. That $250,000 house at 7% in 2 or 3 years is going to be a $275,000 house or more, but your interest rate doesn't save you $25,000.
That's true.
So, and as far as sellers, I know they don't want to let go of that 2.5% mortgage that they refinance. But you have an extreme amount of equity in your home. I'm looking at the mic like they're buyers or sellers. You have an extreme amount of equity in your home. So let's take that $100,000 to $200,000 of equity that you may have in your home, put the majority of that towards your down payment on your next home, and that interest rate isn't going to matter because your mortgage payments will still be the same. And we can structure it specifically. I can tell my lender, I can say, hey, look, they only want to spend $1,300, $1,500 a month rent. They've got $200,000 equity in their home. They're going to put $150,000 of that down. They're going to pay off their cars with the other $50,000. How much can we get them pre-approved for? With $200,000 down at $1,300 to $1,500 a month.
So going back to the beginning, when you were talking about your motto of the year, you just tell them, do what you fear.
Well, I wish. I wish that worked for business. No, that works just for me.
Just for you personally.
Yeah. But the reality is if your home doesn't suit you anymore, but don't let your 2.5% interest rate keep you from, maybe you've had another kid. Maybe you've now become an empty nester and your house is too big for you. Don't let home prices keep you in that mortgage for 2.5% or interest rates keep you in that home for 2.5%, because we can work around that. And I mean, I love the money that real estate brings, but I'm not in this to make money. I'm in this to help people. I'm a very faithful person. I put God first in my business and in my family. And so I'm not out there to, try and get the best, most expensive house because it gives me more money. I want to make you happy. I want to make sure that you're comfortable where you're at and that your needs are being met.
So sell your house, Tira.
That's not mine.
You can do a property fraud situation.
No,
sell your mom's house. Okay.
I know. Sell your mom's house. You can buy a bigger house that has a full basement that can be yours.
Surprise, Mom. I sold your house.
No, I would.
You dead?
Yeah. Not on record. Off record, yeah.
Okay.
Just in case she shows up somewhere.
So last couple questions here. What keeps you passionate about what you do?
Helping people. So homeownership is the American dream.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been in both places where I've been a homeowner. I've been a renter. I was a renter, homeowner, renter, homeowner, renter, homeowner. I mean, it happens. Things in life happen. I don't want people to be discouraged because of home prices and interest rates, because a home is the biggest thing you are ever going to spend money on cost-wise. but it's also going to give you the best return on your investment from any other thing that you can put your money into. It's better than the stock market. It's better than your 401k. It's better than a savings account. It's better than a certificate of deposit, an IRA, anything. Because even if, let's just say, for the heck of it, President Trump gets elected, the Democratic states freak out, the market crashes. Okay? You're not planning on moving anytime soon. So imagine if you bought your house in 2007, 2005, market crashed, your home's worth half of what you paid for it. You stay in your home, and now look at where we're at. It's a win-win situation. You may lose temporarily, but in the end, you're going to win. And because it's your house, your principal and interest payment are never going to change. So you know basically what your rent, and I'm using air quotes here, your rent payment is going to be. The only thing that changes your monthly mortgage payment is your property taxes and your insurance.
Yeah, I think Clinton County had a property tax increase recently.
Property taxes almost doubled for a lot of Clinton County residents.
Yeah. What is a quote or piece of wisdom that's helped guide you that you would want to share with other people?
I would just have to say that, and this comes back to my faith, I guess, you can do anything you want to if you set your heart to it. Because even if you aren't a super faithful person, God is still there for you. He's still watching out for you. And do what you fear. I mean, it's perfect. It really can apply to anything. If you're afraid to see if you qualify to buy a house, call me. You're not wasting my time. I will talk you through some things. I'll decide whether or not you know, which lender might work best for you. I'll give you 3 names. Apply. One of the things they teach you as a real estate agent with marketing is every no is closer to a yes. So if you ask and you say no, let's say you come talk to me, you go apply, you say no. That no from any one of the lenders I work with is going to be do A, B, C, and D, and I can say yes. So do what you fear. Make that phone call. Sellers, you think your house is a complete disaster and nobody's going to want to buy it? Call me. Because I work with companies who will come in before we put your house on the market. They will update your kitchens and your bathrooms, giving you $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 more in equity in your home, and they get paid at closing. So if they only charged you $35,000 to $40,000 and it gave you $70,000 more in equity, you're still making a ton of money.
That's crazy. I didn't know companies would do something like that.
Yeah. I have partnerships with 2 different companies that do that.
What does real change mean to you, or what would be a positive real change in Wilmington's community? It could be as small as like more shops or something more dramatic.
Yeah. So coming in and out for 10 years, I got to see all the changes. And one of the biggest things I've noticed is the uptick in storefronts, small business storefronts. But I definitely think that Wilmington needs like a big box store. Like Charlie Hargrave that's part of what his chat was about this morning. And he did a poll, and that poll says, what do we need? A big box store, more fast food, more restaurants. And my answers to that was a big box store, but make it like Kohl's or something like that that's affordable. Because while there is a lot of money in Wilmington when you look around, at the same time, there's a lot of everyday paycheck to paycheck type workers. And so something like Kohl's gives you an opportunity. I think actually Target is more expensive than Kohl's these days. But we had, you used to have People's, and then it was something else over by Big Lots on the end building.
Gordman?
It was Gordman's after it was People's. When I first started coming here, it was People's, and their prices were a little bit expensive, even in my opinion. And I think you could put in a small basic Kohl's right there. They have a really small one off of Fields Erdel near Cincinnati. It can just be that. It can just be clothes, makeup, and a small housewares, or just clothes. It doesn't have to be a big 2-story box store. We have Walmart, so I really don't think we need Target. But something like that, Kohl's, JCPenney, something that's affordable, but that's a big box store. And no more fast food in Wilmington, please. We need more sit-down restaurants, but something like that. And there's a building in Hillsborough that I keep telling them they need to put like an Applebee's in there. Affordable family dining that is sit-down, that is still a chain. I think an Applebee's would go over great here.
I think Holy Rooster is really packed, which is a similar type of restaurant. It's sit down. It's kind of fast, casual, I suppose.
Yeah. So I just think something like that those two kinds of things would be great. But I think the biggest thing with Change Wilmington is just continuing to improve the infrastructure, which is what runs the city, and then also continuing to revitalize downtown. I look at what they've done in Hillsborough over the last 10 years, and I think Wilmington is very capable of doing that exact same thing. I think Rock the Block brings in a lot of people that discover our town for the first time, and then the Wilmington weekend music or whatever that Tin Cap is doing, that brings a lot of people in as well. So I think there's a lot of businesses like Tin Cap and the Chamber of Commerce and things like that that really want to help improve the community. And I think that's, restoring these old buildings and things like that will really go a long way towards bringing more business and more people to Wilmington.
Yeah. So last thing is just how can people get in contact with you?
I have a webpage. It's pretty simple. It's just Kat Williams Homes. So it's K-A-T Williams Homes with an S.net. And then you can also find me on social media, Kat Williams Realtor, Facebook mostly, Kat Williams Realtor, or Katrina Williams is my personal page, but I do a lot of business on my personal page. YouTube channel is Ohio's Real Estate Concierge. So Ohio is like it's possessive without the apostrophe because you can't. So Ohio's Real Estate Concierge. Just don't put two T's after Kat, because then you'll still, if you search for me, you're going to get a lot of Kat, K-A-T-T, Williams, Homes, because Kat Williams is an African-American comedian.
Yes.
And he's very wealthy. I thought I was being smart with that.
With what?
Kat Williams Homes. The name of that real estate agent that there's a comedian named after her or whatever.
Well, yeah, he was actually going to comment on that earlier.
Yeah, I was going to say...
Go for it.
No, I was just going to ask, if you've ever been confused or know who that is, or it's unfortunate they have the same name. You do very different things. And I looked you up online. I was like, yeah, Kat Williams, the comedian, owns homes too. That's really crazy.
That's why I changed the name of my YouTube channel from Kat Williams Homes to Ohio's Real Estate Concierge, because when you put in Kat Williams Homes on YouTube,
it's only him. Well, different Kat Williams.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for being on our podcast. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. It was fun.
Well, that's it for episode today, folks. I hope you enjoyed our talk with Kat Williams. If you have more questions for her, feel free to reach out directly. If she'll talk with us two dorks, she will certainly talk with you as well. After all, we are a community of empowered individuals. You can contact Real Change Wilmington on our website, realchangewilmington.com. Visit our Facebook page, Instagram pages, or grab a copy of our free local newspaper at Kroger, Sam's Meats, and Fiesta Veracruz. We also currently send our newspaper direct mail to over 2,500 Wilmington residents. So if you want to help us cover our printing costs and advertise your local business, event, or job posting, please email us at advertise@realchangewilmington.com. With that, I'm your host, Dustin Pierce. Keep it real, Wilmington.